Thank you, Attorney-General. Senator Back.
Thank you, Mr President. My question, Mr President, is to the Minister for Communications, Senator Fifield, and I ask, can the Minister update the Senate on the rollout of the Sky Muster satellite NBN service?
The Minister for Communications, Senator Fifield.
Thanks, Mr President, and I bring good news. After a one-day delay occasioned by inclement weather in French Guiana, I'm very happy to be able to advise the chamber that Sky Muster 2 successfully launched last Thursday. It'll be fair to say that Thunderbirds are go. Mr President, the Sky Muster 2 is now 36,000 kilometres above us. It's going to undergo several months of testing before it is in customer service. As colleagues would know, this is the sister satellite to Sky Muster 1, and it will raise the NBN satellite network's capacity to 135 gigabits per second, which is about 30 times the capacity of Labor's appalling interim satellite service. Mr President, Sky Muster 1 has been in commercial use since May. Sky Muster 2 will significantly augment its capacity. And I think, Mr President, that both Sky Muster 1 and 2 and the fixed wireless rollout of the NBN is a very practical demonstration of NBN's premise, which is that no Australian will be left behind when it comes to good broadband connection. Already 30,000 Australians in regional areas are connected to Sky Muster. Sky Muster covers 400,000 premises around the nation, and ultimately we expect about 200,000 people will hook up to Sky Muster. Mr President, this is a good story in contrast to that of Labor's interim satellite service, where $351 million was spent. They said 250,000 people would be able to hook up. They only had enough capacity for 45,000 people.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering the question has expired. On my left, Senator Back, supplementary.
Mr President, this is good news, and I ask if the Minister can give us even more good news and advise how the Coalition's multi-technology mix is delivering the NBN faster and at lower cost.
Minister.
Thanks, Mr President. As I've shared with colleagues before, the Coalition is not taking a theological approach to the NBN, as was the case under former Senator Conroy. We are taking a technology-agnostic approach, which means the mandate for NBN is that it can use the technology that makes sense in a given area, that can see the NBN rolled out fastest and at lowest cost. And the great news is that as a result of that approach, NBN is now available to 3.2 million premises nationwide. That's more than a quarter of the population. By the middle of next year, NBN will be available to 50% of Australian premises. By the middle of the year after, 75% of Australian premises. And by 2020, available to all Australian premises. That the NBN will be complete 6 to 8 years sooner than would have been the case under our predecessors, and at $30 billion less cost. We want to see Australians get the NBN, get it soon, and under us they will.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Back, final supplementary question.
Yes, finally, Mr President, I ask, can the Minister inform the Senate how the Turnbull government's faster rollout of the NBN will benefit all Australians?
Minister.
Thanks, Mr President. Well, one of the important things when rolling out a national broadband network is that you only get the full national economic benefits once the entire nation has it. And so what we have been focused on laser-like as a government is ensuring that Australians get the NBN as soon as possible. NBN, under our predecessors, was essentially a failed project. After the best part of 6 years and $6.5 billion, only 51,000 people were paying customers. Contractors had down tools in 4 states. As a result of the groundwork put in place by Mr Turnbull when he was the Minister for Communications, NBN is on track. It's on budget. NBN as an organisation has met every rollout and financial milestone over the last 10 quarters. Australians will get the NBN. Many of them have it already, and they'll get it a darn sight sooner under us than under those opposite.
Thank you, Minister.